Welcome back to another episode of Ignite, Empower, Transform, where we have conversations with community leaders within the Bronx who take time to give back to the community at large. Today's guest is Mr. Derek Phillips of Real Dads Network. Thank you for coming.
Larry, thank you for having me.
Mr. Phillips, I'm going to call you Derek. We're not going to keep it so
Oh, that's
formal. We're just going
fine.
to have a conversation
Yes.
here. I want to start by you telling me who you are and where you're from and how you got to the point where you're at now. And I'm going to jump in every now and then.
Okay. My name is Derek Phillips. I'm the founder and executive director of Real Dads Network. Real Dads Network is an organization that I founded in 2004.
Okay.
And the basis of Real Dads Network is that our mission is to strengthen the institution of fathers, or the family, by providing positive images of black fathers in all media. And also providing men with resources, what we say designed to empower them to be what we call real dads, men who are present, men who are positive, men who are protectors, and men who are peacemakers. So the organization, we focus on positive black fathers. A lot of times when we're talking about black fathers, there's always this thing about the negative images. We don't focus on negativity. Real Dads Network is built on the premise of the law of attraction. What you put out, you get back. What you focus on will expand. So we focus on positive black fathers. And the reason why I created Real Dads Network is because when I had my first child, well, really, when my dad was never involved in my life at all. My mom died when I was 10. My dad was never there. So I made a promise to myself that if I ever had kids, I was going to be involved in their life, because I felt as though when I was growing up, I didn't have that father figure.
Okay.
So when I had my children, I have two girls, Jordan, who's 21, Maya, who's 17. I said, I'm going to be involved. So when my oldest was born, I changed diapers, I did the hair, I did everything. I did everything for my children. And then I remember when people would see me and they would say, wow, you're Mr. Mom. And I was like, wow,
Right.
wow, I'm a Mr. Mom. So I felt really good about people calling me a Mr. Mom. And then I started sitting back and I said, you know what? I'm not a Mr. Mom. I'm not a Mr. Mom at all. I'm a dad.
You're a dad, exactly.
I'm a black dad. And what happens is that when it comes to black fathers, when we're doing our jobs, what they want to do is say that we're the exception. They want to call us a Mr. Mom, which in turn is an insult. So it looks like it's a positive, because I thought it was. I'm like, oh, Mr. Mom, but it's really an insult. I'm a dad.
Yes.
So when it comes to black fathers, they don't look at us as being fathers. They look at us as being something else. And when we are playing a role of dad, then they got to call us Mr. Mom.
Right. So I like that concept because you're right. It's always focused on the negative. There aren't enough positive black fathers or black men in the community. So let's go make some. Well, there are plenty. There's plenty of us there. And being a dad myself and a father of 4 young ladies and a son, I understand that. I've heard that, Mr. Mom, or you're such a good dad. But what was curious is I've had a lot of women over time say to me, focus in on being a dad, not a Mr. Mom, just like you said. And that's what they can appreciate. So I can understand where you're coming from.
And then as a result of that, and I said the same thing, is that there are a lot of black fathers who are actively involved. So I said, you know what, I want to do something to change that image. So I said, you know what, I get my little money together, and I ended up saying, I'm going to do a documentary. So I did this documentary called Real Dads, Black Men and Fatherhood in 2000.
Okay.
So this was the first documentary that focused exclusively on positive black fathers. And I was lucky because I was able to get Ozzie Davis to do the narration for that piece. So it was a 30-minute piece, and it was just really black fathers talking about their stories, about dads who were involved. And as a result of that, doing a documentary, what I saw is that, a lot of a lot of dads needed support.
Okay.
So what I created is that I created Real Dads Network. And Real Dads Network was designed to provide dads with resources and that support. And one of the things that we do at Real Dads Network is that we also have Real Dads Club.
Okay.
So the Real Dads Club would meet once a month. We had a Real Dads Club Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, and Queens, where it's a place where dads can go, share their stories, talk about some of their challenges, talk about some of their triumphs, but also have another man, another father in front of them to give them that support. And sometimes, with men can't really learn a lot from women about how to be a man.
Right. Right.
So when we have those Real Dads Club meetings, we have real conversations. I mean, we had one dad at one of the meetings said, you know what, I'm tired of this woman and I'm going to kill her. I'm going to throw her in the woodchuck. He was serious.
Wow. Okay.
He was serious. So with us there as men having a conversation, so it came back to, how do you feel about your son? I love my son. I love my son. So then what do you think your son feels about his mother? He loves his mother. So why would you hurt the mother when you know the child loves the mother?
Right, right.
So when we have our Real Dads Club meetings, what we don't do, we don't bash women.
Right.
There's none of this woman bashing in there. In there, it's about you as an individual, support, giving you the support, but also you saying, you know what, these are some of the tools that I need to get by.
Okay.
So we don't bash when we tell men at the end of the day, you have to be the peacemaker.
Right.
If there's a situation, then you need to leave.
Right. Right.
You need to leave and step back and come back later.
So you say the tools. Now, I definitely can relate to men conversing with one another. I'm fortunate enough to have a network of men around me that when I have issues, male issues, I can talk to and get the advice from them. And I get that, and that's fantastic. But how about those, as we go, professional resources? Are you providing those kind of things as well? Names of different agencies or whatever that people can go to?
So one of the things that we do get is that we do get people who, we have also like hotline, a phone number where people call in. So we do provide services, referrals. If we get people that call about need a lawyer. We get dads who are calling who also just saying, listen, I don't know what to do. We're getting calls from people in Seattle, Virginia, all over the country, calling in terms of support. So we do have a large support system in New York City. In New York City, Real Dads Network is one of the premier fatherhood organizations in New York City.
Wow.
We've worked with everyone.
Okay.
I've had the commissioner of Child Support Services actually call me and say, listen, I have this dad that we've been working with. The mother is not allowing him to see his child.
Okay.
So he's getting very discouraged. So he asked me, when are you having your next Real Dads Club meeting? Because I want him to go there.
Okay. Did that happen? And
so this is a committee.
Okay. Did that happen?
Yes.
Did
So we provide, and that's what we do. Because sometimes, in terms of services, a lot of men do not like going to a lot of these social service agencies.
Well, we're taught that we aren't supposed to be there, especially those of us of color, because we've had these negative images that if we walk into one of these agencies, we're labeled a bad or an absent dad, and we're going to leave in handcuffs. We don't understand that there are people that generally have our best interests at heart. So they miss out on opportunities like this program.
Yeah, but what happens sometimes is also trust, because they do know, in terms of a lot of men, what attracts people to Real Dads Network is that we're not taking your social security card. We're not taking your number. We're just telling men, you come in, share your story, get support here. So a lot of times men don't like going to the system, how they view it in terms of the system, because there is an issue in terms of New York City is really big on child support. So one of the things that a lot of men, when they go into these agencies are also doing referrals where you have to go to counseling.
Right.
And part of your counseling is that you have to get domestic violence counseling.
Right.
Which
is wrong in a lot of cases, because that might not be the issue. Maybe it isn't domestic violence. It's just general, we just can't get along. We can't be in the same space. I stay here, you stay there, and we're trying to figure out a way to relate with the kids.
Yeah.
And that's a label that's been stuck on you now, that domestic violence.
Well, and there's a reason for that. And one of the things that we're also trying to do in Real Dads Network is to change public policy. So we're really trying to institute a shared parenting bill in New York State.
Okay.
So the shared parenting bill states is that the presumption is that if you and your the mother of your child separate, the presumption is that you guys will split in custody 50-50. Right now, and based on the court laws now, the child really goes to the mother.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that happens is that one of the strongest lobbyist groups we have is NOW, National Organization for Women. So what they've stated is that they said, you know what, if you're going to pass any policies, we want to make sure you include domestic violence and counseling. Right now, there is in committee a shared parenting bill that has been in the committee in New York State for the last 15, 20 years. No politician wants to touch it, because if they touch it, women are not going to vote for them.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that we're also doing this year is that we're really creating a thing called Real Dads Vote, which is to get men to vote, to register and to vote, not just in the presidential election, not just in terms of the midterm elections, but also local elections.
Right.
Because
Gotcha.
in this society where we live, Power yields only to power. And right now, as men, we don't vote. We don't really have it collective where we're together. But in terms of women, they do. They had the women's...
The big march.
The big march, millions of women. We did that, but we did that 20 years ago.
Right.
With the Million Father
We're
March.
talking the
Million Man March, so that was 20 years ago. So one of the things for us is that we really have to come together and let go of egos, because as men, it's all about our egos.
Right.
So that's the first thing that's there, the egos. But we really have to work together in terms of changing public policy.
Let me step back for a second. You're talking about the domestic violence course that has to be taken. There was another one you mentioned.
Domestic violence.
Just to make
and any other counseling, they'll have job training.
Right.
But some men need it. I'm not saying that they don't.
Absolutely, and I'm in total agreement with that. My thing is always, I'm always skeptical of what label is being attached to someone when they have these things or these certain requirements. But my question is, seeing how the man has to do that, because we're looking for a 50-50 split, is the woman required to do the same? Because we know it can be violence on that side as well.
Yes, there is. But at the end of the day, what we tell dads is that you're in control of you.
Gotcha.
You're in control of you.
Gotcha.
So what you have to do is that you have to have tools in your toolbox. So when this woman is coming at you, even if she's in the wrong, okay, so you got to say, you know what? My tool here, you know what? I'm going to the park.
Right.
I'm leaving the house. You have to leave this situation.
Right.
When we say real dads, dads who are present, providers, protectors, peacemakers.
Gotcha. Hold that thought right there. We're going to take a short break for a commercial, and then we'll come back with the second part of this show.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish. In your face, in your face.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
What if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow.
My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Welcome back to the show. So, Derek, let me ask you. We left off with the 4 Ps. You want to give me those again?
Dads, when we say being a real dad, you have to be present, provider, protector, and peacemaker. So the last thing we spoke about, if a woman is doing something that's, attacking the man, we tell men, you have to be the peacemaker. You have to leave that situation.
Right.
So you have to have those tools in your toolbox. When stuff is happening, you need to leave.
Right.
Even if she's in the wrong.
Right. And I think that's the hardest thing. You said it, you may have said it a moment ago, but ego. We have these big egos. We don't know that it's okay to walk away. Again, it's just kind of your upbringing and the community and the people you're around as you grow up. Men shouldn't cry. Men shouldn't do this. And we have to learn that. We have to give our young men that will eventually be fathers at some point the right tools at the beginning. So I get that. Let's talk a little bit about your Bronx division and how that's working within the community.
So one of the things, like I said, we have Real Dads clubs in every borough. So one of the clubs we have in the Bronx is that we're working with bridge builders. So we have a Real Dads club there. And there was also a junior high school, I don't have the name right now, where we actually partnered with them in the Bronx. And we were doing Real Dads clubs there as well.
Okay.
So what we do is that the purpose of these clubs, again, is for men to share their experiences. But also through Bridge Builders, they're also a community-based organization that has a lot of services for dads in the community as well.
Okay. Now, how are men, I should say, selected to be part of this organization?
In terms of the clubs are open.
And I need to say clubs because organization makes it sound too formal.
The
but
clubs
in terms
are
of the
open.
club.
One of the things that we've noticed when it comes to men Men tend to come out when they're in need.
Mm.
So you'll get a father, a man that'll come out to the club meeting for this week, the next month, but then after a while they'll drop off
Okay.
because they don't have the crisis anymore.
Okay.
So they won't come, which is fine, you know, because with Real Dads Network, the whole purpose of it is that we're there. And it's almost like looking at it from AA.
Gotcha.
You know, and the whole process is for us is to open up chapters throughout the country. So if you go into a particular city and you say, you know what, like the AA, is there an AA meeting here?
Right.
Because you're going through a little issue. So we want people to say, you know, when they go into different cities, is there a Real Dads Club here?
Gotcha.
A place where I can go to talk to someone because I'm going through something. And with a lot of men, we are going through a lot of stuff. And a
Yes.
lot of us are dealing with a lot of pain. And we're looking for places to go. And there is really not a lot of places for men to have those real conversations.
Well, I definitely understand. I mean, I like most men, I've had my ups and downs, and I've had situations where I really, looked over my shoulder a few times like there's no place for me to go. I mean, you can always go to your friends and have some sort of conversation, but I believe in that talking to a stranger, allows you to really let loose. I think that's true. So I'm glad that that's something you're really pushing toward having, and the concept is great. Wherever you go, there's somebody you can talk to. And you mentioned a hotline in the first part of this. Is that a 24-hour hotline?
Well, people can call in. It's like a message service. You call in.
Okay.
We've gotten calls from Seattle. We've gotten calls from all over. So sometimes Dad are looking for. We've gotten calls that people say, you know what? I've been searching through the internet and I've been looking for an organization that I can call. So we'll pop up. Or
Gotcha.
they'll say, you know what? A friend of mine's told me I should call Real Dads Network.
Gotcha.
Because the thing what people find with us is that when it comes to men, it's also the trust.
Absolutely.
We are not a city or state agency.
Gotcha.
So therefore, we are not doing this work to get anything. We're not trying to take anything from you. We're just here to provide support.
And I pray that you guys really emphasize that, because, like you said, when people think you're coming after them on the back end when they're trying to get help, they'll stay away. They'll stay in the foxhole. They don't want to come out. Let's talk a little bit about the children though, and how this affects them and how they're involved, if they're involved. Let's talk about how your organization works with the children or help guide the children as well.
So in terms of our focus is really on the dads,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of one of the things that we do is that we have what's called, I'm gonna go back to, and I tell people it's a misnomer when we talk about Real Dads Network,
Mm-hmm.
because the focus is really on children.
Gotcha.
So,
which is where I'm going with this
okay,
question.
so that's really the focus of the organization, and in a lot of ways we use dads.
Right.
Okay, because my thing is I'm also an educator.
Right.
So, and I want to really help children. So I'm like, what better way to do it than to go through a dad? So I'm using dads, really, I'm using them
Right.
as a vehicle to get what I want, which is to help children.
Right.
So, and what we look at in terms of dads also, when we look at all the research clearly shows that children do better educationally, academically, socially, emotionally, when both parents are actively involved.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what I tell people is that in terms of parents, a lot of our kids are off balance, and they're off balance because they don't have the yin and the yang.
Right.
So whenever you take one out of the equation, you're gonna have kids that are off balance. So even with dads, we tell dads, you have to be there. I don't care what you think of this woman, the mother of your child, you have to be there. Whether you're in the home or outside of the home, you have to have a relationship. You have to be involved, because at the end of the day, your child is going to benefit from that.
Right. And I think that's an important message. And speaking from experience, and as you watch other shows, you see I often speak from experience. Being a man divorced, fortunately, I had the unit, the father and the mother at home until my dad's passing a couple of years back, and didn't matter what the situation was, he was always present, whether it was to come to the school or sit and talk to me. And as I travel around and I see other fathers, young fathers, and I get familiar with them, and I see they're struggling a little bit, I try to relate, because my dad was a young father. So I relate some of my experience back to them, and I say, you can do it. You can do it. You need to hang in there, and it's not about the mother of the child at that point. You guys have to work that out as adults, but you have to understand that kid that you had is the most important thing, and he or she is going to grow up one day. And
they're gonna
that's
follow
the
your lead.
product. That's right. That's the product you created, and now you have to tell the world or give the world something good. If you give them something bad,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work.
And
out.
that's why it's just so important. When we talk about image, when we talk about labels, black fathers have been labeled as being, irresponsible, deadbeats. So about 2 or 3 years ago, CDC did a report. They did the research.
I already know which one you're talking about.
Okay, they did the
Go ahead.
research. Black fathers are more involved than any other
ethnic group.
But we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
But I knew that 17 years ago.
Gotcha.
That's why we did Real Dads Black Men on Fatherhood.
Right.
Because we knew black fathers are more involved. Although what we see in terms of images in TV, we don't see that. So that's why Real Dads Network, our focus is on changing the images. We don't just talk about it. We focus solely on black fathers. Or not just black fathers, but the positive aspects of fathers. We don't deal with, you hear people, the irresponsible fatherhood movement. No, we do not touch that, because when you say responsible fatherhood movement, you're saying dads are irresponsible.
Gotcha.
So our thing is, no, we don't touch that.
Gotcha. A father-daughter dance. Okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot because we conversed earlier, and I know you said that this year you were thinking about you hadn't done it this year.
Yeah. It's the murder. It's killing me.
Yeah. Well, this is going on television.
We're going to do the daddy daughter
going on
dance.
the internet.
We have to do it this year.
Exactly.
We're doing it
Exactly.
again. It's like I had dads that called me. It's like this dad called me the other day. He's like, yo, what's up? You don't like me anymore? I haven't gotten any emails about the daddy daughter dance. Right. My daughter's, up my back. Yo, when is it? Yo, what's going on? How come you leaving me out? He was pissed. Right. I'm like, no, I didn't leave you out. We're just not having it in June. He's like, what? So you know what? The daddy daughter dance is very important. And he's like, yo, my daughters look forward. As you were saying earlier, they look forward to the daddy daughter dance.
I have my 2 younger daughters. My one is now a senior as of September. Since the 5th grade, I believe, is when they started. At her school, they have what they call a father-daughter dance. Same premise. But we go, suit and tie. She has on her gown, and we sit a formal dinner, and there's dancing, and there are awards, and they honor the seniors, whoever's in the senior class that year. And my daughter, from the first day she gets the school calendar, it's, hey, Dad, this is the date. Put it on your calendar. And I have to tell you, the last, I don't know, maybe 4 years, it's been more me looking forward to that dance. It's important to me. It's
because
time
we're
with my
building
baby.
that relationship and that
exactly.
bond.
Exactly.
And that's what's like, I have to go back. And I've been pushing it. That's been my thing. New York City, we've been on the radio, we've been on Kiss FM, 103.9 promoting it. So we are, in terms of New York City, the daddy-daughter dance.
And we want you to stay that way. We
I'm
want you
going
to stay
back.
that way. And I know, and I'll put him on the spot. I know he's in the control room looking now. I'm sure Hosea is going to do everything he can to help support this. Yeah, we need to have that.
Yeah. And it's like the dance that we do is different. I mean, we really have. It's a formal event where, I don't do it at the, I don't do it at the schools.
Right.
Because I really want it to be a formal night out where you're going to a place, ballroom, where you're going out, you're getting dressed, and, we have music, we have entertainment, so it's a whole evening you're spending with your daughters. So we try to make it, like 1 year we had Allen Houston there, we have Freedom Williams there, so we have celebrities try to come in, to sign an autograph, for the kids. So we try to make it a really memorable evening that dads and daughters spend.
And that's, again, it's really important because in our communities, our children aren't exposed to those things as much. It's not unless we spend a lot of money to send them to these big schools and stuff like that. But there's no reason why, or no justification why they can't have it right in their communities.
And even in the schools. Close. And because in New York City, a lot of them weren't doing it in the schools. A lot of times, upstate Jersey, they'll have it in the schools. Right. But in New York City, no one was really doing the daddy-daughter dances, even in the schools. Okay. So a lot of them never really even been to a daddy-daughter dance until they came to the Real Dads Network daddy-daughter dance. Gotcha.
What's next? I mean, I'm hearing what you're doing. What's next for this organization?
Well, the big thing is to do any Real Dads Vote campaign. And the whole thing with the Real Dads Vote campaign is that, I listen to Joe Madison a lot on Sirius Radio, and one of the things that Joe Madison always talks about, you calling into a talk show, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Right. So we can't just talk about what's going on, and I'm going to use what Michael Blake said last week at the Resistance rally, he said, it's not about what Trump didn't do, how bad he is. Let's just focus on how good we are.
Understood. That makes sense.
So I don't want to focus on, what's happening in terms of the political climate, but let's talk about what are we going to do?
Fantastic.
How are we going to change it? So what we're saying is that in terms of Real Dads Network, we're going to do a Real Dads Vote. We want to get 1 million dads registered to vote. We want to make this a national campaign and also make this a campaign of awareness. I've spoken to so many people who have said that, as felons can vote.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a felon, if you've been convicted of a crime, convicted felon, you can vote.
Gotcha.
But you can't be on parole or probation.
So that's great information. We're going to hold that because that might be a whole nother show topic.
Yes.
So we're going to. Derek, I really appreciate you coming and sitting with me. This is valuable information.
Thank you.
And I think that the people watching will understand that the importance of dads and their children. I'd like to thank you all for joining us for this episode. And please come back for our next. We'll have more superheroes in our community. Ignite, empower, transform. Thank you.
It's time we give back. So see you show some more what love's at. And if you don't give it up, give your heart and share your time. Help somebody else to give back. Let's give back.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic.
Maybe he could be an outdoor cat that lives in our neighbor's yard, 3 doors down.
Mom!
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.